New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
There he is, and we have to play the music. Cue the music. Well, sometimes you have technical difficulties, but we're just going to go ahead and just do it. Well, hi there. Good evening. Once again, it is another fun-filled throw-packed, and yes, it is guaranteed edition of the Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I am broadcasting this evening from the top secret bunker that is so secure that even the Reverend Robert Brzezinski cannot find where I'm at. Now, he has sent the radio trucks up and down the boulevard trying to find me, but he cannot find where the top secret radio bunker is located, and we're going to keep it that way. Well, hi there. Good evening. You're probably viewing us this evening on YouTube and also on my channel. So you'll probably be seeing this in repeat here on the other Facebook channels. For some reason, the Facebook channels are not working this evening. But anyhow, wherever you're at, whatever time you're watching, good to have you along. We do have a wonderful show for you tonight. Again, for those of you who don't feel comfortable in using the comments, that's okay. All you need to do is send me an email. It's that easy. And you can do that at pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Again, I read those during the week. And that, again, if you have any comments or questions for me, please contact me. I always like to read other things in my email other than junk. Well, the purpose of our Fireside Chat, as I say week after week, we talk about the contemporary issues from a New Thought perspective. And as I keep saying week in and week out, we all need to have a New Thought perspective about what is going on around us, because we're all one. So what needs to be healed in the world also needs to be healed in us. So we point that out as we do a very thoughtful check on the news, and also, again, not to sidestep what is going on in the world, but to say, okay, that's what's happening. How can I help? How can I serve? Well, our special guest tonight is no stranger to those of you who do watch our network. We welcome the host of the Sunday evening show, The Miracle of Prosperity, the author of The Soul of Prosperity, and the senior minister of the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel in Silver Springs, Maryland. We present this evening the Reverend Jim Webb. We'll be discussing a topic about prosperity during troubling times, and we have some news articles about that here. Prosperity during troubling times. I know that Reverend Jim Webb voted Best Smile last year. 2022 on our network. Best smile. He will have a few things to say about that here in just a few moments. Well, today is the beginning of the Memorial Day weekend. And also it starts the busy travel season. From Wikipedia, it says Memorial Day, originally known as Decoration Day, is a federal holiday in the U.S. for honoring and mourning the U.S. military personnel who have died while serving in the American Armed Forces. Many people visit cemeteries and memorials on Memorial Day to honor and mourn those who have died while serving the U.S. military. Many volunteers place American flags on graves of military personnel in national cemeteries. Memorial Day is also considered the unofficial beginning of summer in the United States. Again, summer does not officially begin until the summer solstice, but hey, we're getting a 4-week head start. How about that? On Memorial Day, the flag of the United States is raised briskly to the top of the staff and then lowered then to the half-staff position, which remains only until noon. Then it is raised to full staff for the remainder of the day. And I found this interesting. I found this on Wikipedia. It says scholars, following the lead of sociologist Robert Bellah, often made the argument that the United States has a secular civil religion, one with no association with any religious denomination or viewpoint, that has incorporated Memorial Day as a sacred event. With the Civil War, a new theme of death, sacrifice, and rebirth entered the civil religion. Memorial Day gave ritual expression to those themes, integrating the local community into a sense of nationalism. The American civil religion, in contrast to that of France, was never anti-clerical or militantly secular, in contrast to Britain. It was not tied to a specific denomination, such as the Church of England. The Americans borrowed from different religious traditions so that the average American saw no conflict between the two, and the deep levels of personal motivation were aligned with attaining national goals. Isn't that interesting? So stay safe. And if you are traveling by air, don't yell at anyone at the airport or on the airplane. Now, I didn't make that up. That was written by CNN. It's a shame that we even have to have that. But just be nice, okay? Just be kind. Everyone will get there. Honestly. We go now to our next news story here, talking about the debt limit. This has been in the news here the past few days. American political leaders have less than a week to hammer out a debt compromise before the country could run out of money to pay its bills. Some Democrats are losing patience over seemingly deadlocked talks. Several members have warned the White House their party's votes are being taken for granted, and their support for any debt deal is not necessarily guaranteed. The ongoing negotiations have already triggered negative economic repercussions. Credit rating agency Fitch has placed the top-ranked U.S. credit on a negative watch, and 30-year mortgage rates have risen because of the looming uncertainty. There are international concerns too. China and Japan are the largest foreign investors in U.S. government debt, which means that they would be negatively impacted by a U.S. default as well. Together, China and Japan own $2 trillion, more than a quarter of the $7.6 trillion in the U.S. Treasury securities held by foreign countries. Oh, there's been all kinds of stuff in the news. How it may affect Social Security payments, how it may shut down the government. So how do we get through turbulent financial times? Well, stay tuned for our special guest, Reverend Jim Webb, who will tell us and give us some thoughtful advice about how to navigate troubled financial times with spiritual principles. So that'll be coming up here in just a few moments. We actually have this evening good news from the White House. Honestly, the White House has laid out two separate national plans to combat anti-Semitism and gender-based violence. President Joe Biden introduced a new whole-of-society plan, the first of its kind, that tackles anti-Semitism. He called it the most ambitious and comprehensive U.S. government-led effort to fight anti-Semitism in U.S. history. Biden described the four-pronged strategy, which includes efforts to increase awareness and understanding of anti-Semitism and Jewish American heritage, and also to improve the safety and security for Jewish communities. Meanwhile, the U.S. National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence was also released on Thursday. It contains 7 pillars of focus, including providing support for survivors of gender-based violence, addressing online harassment and abuse, and conducting more robust research, as well as collecting additional data on gender-based violence. Well, good for the White House. Good for President Biden. I'm actually saying something positive about a politician, Reverend Jim Webb. I know. He's going, wow. Seriously, though, the voices for human equality and also justice must speak up and be louder than those who preach hate and violence. And the challenge today is this. Many are using their religion, especially Christianity, to expound what I believe are unbiblical beliefs. That is why many in New Thought, including myself, say that we must speak up for peace, for love, for equality for all. The anti-Semitism, the gender-based violence, and also the violence that's perpetrated towards the LGBTQ community must end, period, and put in the history books forever. Hopefully for all of humanity to learn from. Well, speaking about gender-based violence, here's a story from South Carolina. Their governor, Henry McMaster, has signed a bill into law that will limit most abortions as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Okay, so let's stop there. Most women don't know that they're pregnant during that time. They don't know. I'll continue. It says a growing list of Republican-led states, including almost all of the U.S. South, have introduced sweeping abortion restrictions in the wake of last year's Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. In Indiana, a doctor who publicly revealed that she provided abortion services to a 10-year-old Ohio rape victim was reprimanded and fined by the state medical board for violating privacy rules. The case has become a focal point when several GOP politicians and media outlets initially cast skepticism on the doctor's claims. However, a man was eventually charged with raping the young child, and an Ohio detective testified that the girl had undergone an abortion in Indianapolis. The doctor said that the girl traveled from Ohio to Indiana because of the former state's tight restrictions on abortion. So her crime, if the doctor did not commit a crime, but the medical board in Indiana said that, again, she violated the young girl's rights to privacy. But still, Let's understand that women's rights are human rights. Women's rights are human rights. And these same men, or mostly men who are Republican, claim conservative Christian values to save the life of the unborn. Reverend Webb, is my mic on? I'm just checking. These are the same politicians who are allowing our children and adults to be massacred in our schools and on our streets. These same politicians. The move to restrict legal and safer abortions in our country is an assault on women and their right to choose. Let us have a focus here on the living by restricting assault weapons and encouraging social programs that assist single parent families. That would be pro-life. Also in the news from South America, from Peru, Peruvian security forces carried out deadly attacks against protesters with extrajudicial executions and the widespread use of lethal ammunition earlier this year, according to a report from Amnesty International. The country's weeks-long protest movement began in December 2022, and it was sparked by the arrest and the impeachment of their former president, and was fueled by dissatisfaction over living conditions and inequality. Now, while the protest occurred throughout the nation, the worst violence was in the rural and indigenous South. Of the 25 deaths documented by Amnesty International, 15 of the victims were under 21. Peruvian authorities have held a different party line, though, praising the country's security force for quelling the discontent, and also claimed that they acted in self-defense. I bring that up because I was talking to a minister a couple of months ago, and she says the reason why that Ukraine gets more press than some of the other troubled areas is because of the lighter skin color. Personally, I pray for everyone. I continue my prayers for Ukraine. I continue my prayers for South America, for Africa, for the Mideast. Let's outlaw war. Let's come to a place where we can take those defense dollars and actually put them to good use. Just imagine what could happen if we did not have to spend so much money on defense. Interesting. Well, our last news item tonight is dedicated to my producer, Diego Reyes, who is not here tonight. And that's because Diego insisted that I have something on COVID-19 every single broadcast. No, he didn't. I'm just joking. But we have COVID news tonight. It says researchers say that they've come up with a list of symptoms that can reliably classify long-term COVID, opening the door to more research and better treatment of the condition. The study is the first research to emerge from a nearly $1.2 billion investment into the disease. The project followed more than 13,000 adults at more than 200 study sites as a part of the NIH, National Institute of Health COVID Research Initiative. The new criteria codifies 12 symptoms of long-term COVID, like fatigue, brain fog, heart palpitations, and a chronic cough. The symptoms are also weighted according to how likely they are to appear in people who have long COVID compared to those who don't. So the search for long COVID treatments have been stymied by a lack of a biomarker, and that's something that doctors can test or measure. So if they're doing treatment on you, they can't really tell by the blood test if it's working or not. Several well-known diseases lack a biomarker, forcing doctors to examine a series of symptoms to make the diagnosis instead of lab tests. Yes, COVID is still with us. So please, again, just take care of yourself. Get your annual checkups at your local healthcare providers, and also have regular appointments with your spiritual practitioner. It amazes me that we will go to the doctor and then not bother to call our practitioner or minister for prayer. And then people say, well, that costs money to see a practitioner. Okay, I have never, ever heard of a practitioner or a minister denying prayer treatment to anyone who could not pay. Try that with your doctor. It costs money to see your doctor, even with insurance. So I've never known a practitioner to turn someone down because of a temporary financial hardship. So if you're going to the doctor for a symptom, maybe it is time to book a practitioner session. Again, we've talked about for 40, 50 years now about holism, or being holistic in our medical treatment and in our living. However, a lot of the so-called natural cures still treat the symptoms and not the cause. Because again, they're only treating the physical and not taking a look at the emotional, mental, and spiritual reasons. I don't think Diego would be very proud of me tonight because I'm at 22 minutes and 30 seconds. But you know what? I can go ahead tonight and blow it off. That's good because he's not here. So, well, hi there. Welcome. This is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. Boy, that's interesting. I am not going to post any of those. That's what happens when I don't have a producer. I don't have someone going ahead and posting all those. All right. Well, anyhow, hi there again. Welcome. And let's go ahead and read some announcements. We'll take a break and then we'll have the Reverend Jim Webb with us this evening. No, I'm not going to post those posts. You should have warned me. Oh, that's okay. You're only here as the guest, not as the producer. All right. Well, anyhow, just to let you know that yours truly is parking himself at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you'll find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. Grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso. Join us, please. We do have really one of the best services, I believe, in New Thought. And this Sunday, our speaker will be our spiritual director, practitioner extraordinaire, Diana Mangus. So go on to summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call. And our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page. And our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat and yours truly when he is praying on the New Thought Media Network. We have so much stuff that's going on here. So many wonderful things that are going on behind the scenes. So many things that we're getting ready for you for the summer and also for the fall. We'll be switching to a new platform, to more of a community platform here coming up. Lots of wonderful things coming up. And so what we'd like you to do here is to support us, please. Go to ntmedia.org, check out our schedule, and also please click on the donate button. There, again, you can partner with us to empower individuals around the world. And we're able to do this through this technology. It amazes me that I'm able to do what I'm able to do here in Akron, Ohio. That goes all over the world. We get responses from Peru, from Canada, all the way over in the Philippines, Japan. This message is reaching the world, and it's reaching the world through this network. So we're lovingly asking for you to partner with us to take this powerful message to individuals around the world. So go to ntmedia.org/donate, give a very generous one-time gift, or if you would like, please partner with us, give a sustaining monthly gift that really helps us again in taking the message around the world. ntmedia.org/donate. Okay. Time for commercials. Or as Reverend Jim says, time to sell some soap. So we're going to sell some soap and then we'll be right back. This is a Friday evening fireside chat here on your New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
It is my honor this evening, all the way from his vacation cabin somewhere in the state of West Virginia. We're not going to say where, because his church board of trustees may find him. We welcome this evening someone who is not a stranger to us here on the New Thought Media Network. It is the Reverend Jim Webb. Jim is the author of The Soul of Prosperity. He also hosts his own show called The Miracle of Prosperity, which is Sunday evenings at 8 Eastern here on your New Thought Media Network. He's also the senior minister of the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel in Silver Springs, Maryland, and did receive an honorary doctorate last year, which he does not publicize. But I'm going to say it anyhow. Good evening, Reverend Dr. Jim Webb. Welcome to the New Thought Media Network once again.
Yes, it's so good to be here, and thank you for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, if you listen to the news, we're going to hell in a handbasket with finances.
Mm-hmm.
That if they don't come up with something, that we're not going to get our monthly check, or we're not going to get our benefits, or something bad is going to happen. Could you comment about that, Reverend Webb, and maybe how we can overcome some of those fears?
Yes. There are two parts of us. There is the part of us that knows and remembers that we are one with God. That part of us is holy. And that part of us has within it all that it needs to be happy and fulfilled, no matter what is going on in the outer world. And that part of us thinks with the God mind. But then there is that other part of us. That part of us that believes that we are a temporal body and this is all we are. That part of us that bought into what the world values and believes that our worth is based on what is happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those two parts of us are often at war. And as people on a spiritual path, we are continually developing the part of us that is God. And the part of us that is the ego, let's call it, that other part,
Mm-hmm.
that part of us fears that it is being annihilated. Now, the ego has a mind, and there is the God mind, in which we are one with God and where we think the thoughts we think with God.
Mm-hmm.
Our task is to develop the God mind to the degree where it overshadows the ego mind, so that we can have peace no matter what is going on in our outer world. And, you know, I'm not always one to quote the Bible.
Okay, but you're allowed here on the New Thought Media Network. Go ahead.
Okay. 1 John, 4th verse, 4th chapter. The power of God within you is greater than the power in the world.
Could you please repeat that?
The power of God within you is greater than any power in the world. So, let's break this down as it relates to finances and stuff like that. God can work through an infinite number of people, places, and things to bring us all that we desire, as we allow ourselves to be deserving of it. And as we are in the God mind, we are in that deserving mind that says yes to God. And when we are in that mind, and when we are in that energy, and when we are in that frequency, and when we are in that flow, we are open to the miracles that can bring to us all that we need. And when we demonstrate this over and over again through our practice, through our experiences and our feeling of oneness with God, and through our vibrational rate and our ongoing well-being as a result of that oneness, we worry less, we stress less, and we are less impacted by those things outside of us. So, for example, in a practical way, one of the things I do is I work with gratitude, and I also have a little book where I keep a running log of all my miracles. And it
Wow.
could be the small miracle of a parking space, or it could be a big miracle, such as, I'll tell you one from years ago, from renting out a property when I kind of needed some cash flow and I was renting out a property and renting it out to an embassy, and they paid me 12 months and 1 month security deposit in one lump sum. Boom. My problem was over in a minute. And so I list them all. And anytime I'm having a doubt about a moment, anytime I have a fear about a moment, I open that little journal and I look at a miracle that has already happened. And I know that this is a trajectory that is only going to increase.
So it's what we put our focus on. Correct.
Yes. And the other part of that, Reverend Dr. Minister, Pastor Michael?
Bishop.
Bishop Michael.
Excellency to you. Okay,
Your
go ahead.
Excellency.
Go ahead.
The other part of that is focusing on all that is versus focusing on what could be. Because quite often when we're worried about the future, all these scary demons in our minds are coming up, all these scary scenarios. And quite frankly, when that happens, we're not thinking, we are planning. Because the energy that throws us into is the energy that is projected outwardly into our world.
Mm-hmm.
And what we project out gets reflected back to us. So when we're saying, oh, I'm afraid I don't have enough, I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough, I'm afraid this is going to happen, I'm afraid that's going to happen, we're literally putting that energy out there. And that energy current that we're putting out goes out and grabs its reflection and draws it to us.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not worrying, you're planning.
Mm-hmm.
You're planning your pain. And that's something important to remember. Worry is planning your pain.
Some things come up, especially with the news, is that, again,
Yes.
for me, that what happens is that I sometimes is, if the stock market goes up or down,
Mm-hmm.
or if I hear some bad news as far as with my pension plan,
Yes.
or, I told you one earlier about someone canceling a wedding on me.
Yes.
See, and again, for me, that gives me opportunity. I still get upset, but then it gives me an opportunity then to take a look and say, well, who is my supply?
Yes.
Is it individuals, or is it spirit?
Working through an infinite number of individuals, circumstances, and experiences.
Yeah, and I have all kinds of miracles, especially in the area of, one person, I remember one person canceling on me after talking with them for a year, their wedding ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls me up about a month ahead of time and he said, my hockey chaplain from college is willing to do my wedding. And I was a little upset about that.
Yeah.
So what happened was I said, okay, do whatever you want to do. And then I got another wedding for that afternoon. someone desperate for someone. So again, for me, I have to, times that, again, that the news is upsetting to some people, times in which that things don't go my way, times in which that, again, that I remember Lester Levinson from the release technique. He said, don't bank in your head. He says, bank in your bank. He says, because what happens is when it gets up here, then again, you get disappointed. Just again, when the results happen, yes, you can go ahead and have any reaction. But the whole idea is that we rely upon spirit as our supply. we have an infinite amount. We live in an infinite universe. That's the truth, that we live in a world of infinite possibilities. So again, when something does not work out, and again, I remember a true student, this is beginning of COVID when the stock market went.
Yes.
They panicked.
Yeah.
They panicked because again, the stock market may be a channel, but it's not the source.
Exactly.
And that it came again, the stock market came back. So again, keeping our focus on God as our unlimited source of our supply, rather than watching the financial news all the time. I'm not saying don't take care of your finances. I'm just saying that when there's worry or concern, is that we need to, I know what I need to do. I need to refocus,
Yes.
not on the problem, but on God.
Yes.
Your response.
Exactly. And as practitioners, we also have gotten adept at doing something that I call praying past appearances. And as a metaphysician, I know that this appearance right now, which may seem like an appearance of lack, or an appearance of struggle, or an appearance of a problem, is simply crystallized energy that has crystallized from past consciousness. But I also know that in any holy instant, the energy can change and shift and create something new. So this appearance that appears before me is an amalgamation or a crystallization of the past. Mm-hmm. But in this moment, as A Course in Miracles calls it, in this holy instant, just like that, the circumstances can change.
Yes.
And just like that, when the circumstances change, the outer world can change.
Yes.
So I won't get bogged down or mired in this current appearance. So it's don't pray the problem, pray the solution.
Yes.
Don't pray the existing, pray the vision. Don't pray what is, pray the desire. And affirmative prayer is a wonderful channel for that.
Yes.
God, in this moment of grace and glory, where I am one with you and you pour your light and your grace to me and through me and it expresses as me, I see, know, feel, experience, and allow. And then you pray the desire. You pray the desired state without dwelling on, this is what's not happening. This is what I don't have. This is my struggle. No. You pray from that highest perspective where you are one with force and source. Mm-hmm. And you pray into experience and into your energy the desire. For when you pray when you pray that desire into through your energy, you magnify it and send it out so that it can grab its reflection.
Absolutely. Hi, this is a Friday evening fireside chat here on your New Thought Media Network. We're talking with this evening one of our wonderful hosts who has a great show on Sunday evenings, The Miracle of Prosperity. He also has written a wonderful book called The Soul of Prosperity, which is available on Amazon. Go buy the book if you haven't. And also he is the senior minister of the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel, as my friend, the Reverend Jim Webb. I think that for me, that what happens is that, again, that when I forget who I am,
yes,
that's when I get wrapped up with all the stuff around me. And what you were saying is, what they train our practitioners to do here in CSL is that they train them to see beyond the appearances.
Yes.
And just see the truth about whoever or whatever that you're praying about. And sometimes that is tough. I will admit that. And that is the time when, again, calling my practitioner, calling a friend who is not going to commiserate with me, but who's going to say, well, we're going to know the truth here.
Yes.
We're going to have a new fashioned conversation. We are going to know the truth about what is going on. And again, it's still, when I go to churches to speak, it still amazes me how individuals will speak about not what's going right in their lives, but what is going wrong, even in our own teaching.
Yes.
That again, and I keep saying also from the pulpit, is, when we speak it, we birth it.
Yeah.
So those things, I'm not saying never tell anyone. Again, you want to tell your doctor or your healthcare provider what's going on with you. But why do you have to tell everyone else? That's my question. And so again, the people that you tell are the people who are working with you to get well,
Yes.
which are your practitioner. You can tell your practitioner, and also, but everybody else, why don't you tell them something good is happening in your life? I mentioned about the old-fashioned conversation. That's from Florence Scovel Shinn. She used to have a friend, New Thought author, by the way. She had a friend who loved to talk about all the crap that happened. The old-fashioned conversation. Let's have an old-fashioned conversation. And then Florence would say, now, honey, I really don't want to have those kind of conversations with you anymore. I want to have a new fashioned conversation that says about what things are good, what things are pure, what things are holy, what things that are going good in our lives. So that's where, again, that the switch around comes. Yes. So what do you notice in your practice? I know you do a lot of counseling with individuals. What do you notice in your practice is the number one block to prosperity?
Unconscious self-rejection, unconscious self-condemnation. Now, this unconscious self-rejection and unconscious self-condemnation can be absorbed through one's environment, one's past experiences, etc. However, when it lodges within us, that part of us says no to all of the yeses that God offers. And the other thing that happens then is we get into the no brain instead of the yes brain. We get into the energy pattern of what if I fail versus what if I succeed. We get into the energy pattern of what if the past repeats itself and I am denied this thing versus what if in this moment of grace I say yes and this thing is mine. And so the whole journey to prosperity is simply a journey of releasing any unconscious self-condemnation, self-judgment, or self-rejection, and instead allowing the self-love that is an intrinsic part of us to say yes to what God has already said yes to for us. So that's the journey.
And that we're already naturally prosperous.
Yes. God is saying yes. God is tapping us on every shoulder that we have, saying, here's a way I can serve you. Here's a way I bless you. Here's what I can offer you. That is the natural prosperity that is our birthright. And our task is to say yes to it, is to allow it, to accept it, instead of giving off the energy that rejects it, instead of having thoughts that reject it, instead of speaking words that reject it.
So what I teach my students is that when you start praying for prosperity, carry around a little notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you get any type of idea that comes out of the blue, write it down in your notebook and look at it later on. Again, that it takes sometimes just one idea, again, to change your life around. I used that term, the holy instant, earlier. I had a friend of mine, a practitioner friend of mine, she sent me a video. She says, it's amazing what they teach in 15 minutes. And I said, well, how about the holy instant? How about right now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. You know, that is how quickly that, again, that things can change in our lives. However,
Absolutely.
again, that, having the awareness, having the consciousness, and having the faith and belief that that with God, all things are possible. Again, that's quoting the Bible, but that's available. That same verse is in all the other Holy Scriptures. With God,
Yes, it
all things
is.
are possible. And the kingdom of heaven is within, not out there. It is out there,
In
but
you.
it's within us.
Yes.
And the reason that we don't experience heaven on earth is because that we forget who we are. So
Yes.
that's why, you have myself and you have Reverend Jim and other people reminding everyone of how holy, how divine you are. And that,
Yes.
again, that no matter what has happened in your past, that what can happen is that you can go ahead and say and take responsibility and say, well, you know what? I may or may not have done this. More likely I have, but maybe some of this stuff comes from race consciousness or from other
Yes.
people's thoughts, but I can change this. I can rise above the race consciousness, which is again the thoughts and the feelings of everyone in the world, which
Yes.
unfortunately tends to be negative. What would
Yes.
happen if we would all teach everyone about their own divinity and then
Yes.
start thinking that way into that? But you do not have to be affected by what's going on in the race. You do not have to be affected by what's going on in the stock market. You do not have to be affected by what is going on with your pension plan. Just know that God is the source of your supply and that
Yes.
you will be guided and directed on what to do.
Yes.
God has a myriad ways. The infinite
Yes.
is infinite. It
It's
has
infinite.
myriad ways to bless us. What you were saying, Jim, is a lot of times is that we're not open to that.
Yes. A lot of times we tie God's hands. And if you had to ask me one thing to do to allow prosperity, this is what I would say. If there is one thing that you can do to allow your prosperity, is to activate your spiritual superpower. Your spiritual superpower is choice. You have the choice to use your God mind or your ego mind. Your God mind says, you are a part of God, never apart from God. You are worthy, you are loved, you are lovable, and you are deserving. Your ego mind might have told you something different. So in that instant, you have a choice, and that is your spiritual superpower. And so I say, like the Stylistics song, stop, look, and listen. Just take a breath, because in that breath, you breathe in the light of God, the love of God, the grace of God, a memory and an experience of the presence of God. And in that breath, you make a choice to use the God mind. With that breath, you interrupt that habitual, intrinsic ego reflex. And in that pause, God's energy slips in and God's mind slips in. And you ask yourself with that breath, what is the truth? The truth is I am deserving. The truth is I am lovable. The truth is I am safe. The truth is I am innocent, perfect, whole, pure, and complete. And the truth is God loves me, God is with me, God is within me, God guides me, God supports me. And I say yes to the yes God offers. And so in an instant, that holy instant, you breathe in that truth. And that truth replaces the error in your mind that was in your lower ego mind, your survival mind, your tribe mind. Mm-hmm. And each time you do that, you strengthen the part of you that is God. And you weaken the part of you that was fear. So that's what I would do.
Well, thank you for such wonderful advice. Reverend Jim Webb, tell us about your show coming up this coming Sunday evening here on the New Thought Media Network. You have a special one, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. I have a special one with one of our favorite guests. Reverend Daniel Newsom will be with me live, shoulder to shoulder in the same room. And we are talking about the magic of prosperity. We are talking about the spiritual, energetic spark that can create prosperity in a holy instant. And we'll also be answering your personal prosperity questions. We'll be giving prosperity messages to anyone who calls in. In other words, we'll be using our intuitive readings to give you a brief prosperity reading. So that's powerful.
It's I learn something every time that I get to produce this show. And see, that's the gift that I get, is that I get to participate in these conversations just by being there and just by listening to the very wise individuals that come on. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we had someone, a minister who was an expert on goddesses. That was so much fun. We have, we have some great guests on our program. And again, that the purpose of it is to, again, to invite and invoke the miracle of prosperity within you. So if you have not gotten Jim's book, have not purchased it, please go to Amazon. It's called it's called The Soul of Prosperity. Yes. Please buy that. There's also some mini books too, one on a self-manifesting vision board. We can talk about that some other time. And also Prosperity A through Z. These books are very inexpensive, but I'm telling you that, again, as you start changing your thinking, as you start putting in more good stuff, what happens is it will come out. You know, good stuff in, good stuff out. And again, that's, you know, the other way around, garbage in, garbage out, but good stuff in, good stuff out. So again, as from the Bible, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that's the reason why, again, that I read books every day. Again, I do meditation every day, again, to constantly remind myself of, again, who I am and whose I am. So, boy, I'll tell you what, Reverend Jim Webb, an hour goes by quick. Any parting thoughts here?
Everyone have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and free your mind, and the rest will follow.
That sounds like a song or something.
I think it is.
Reverend Jim Webb, thank you very much. Hang on. I'll talk to you on the other side here, but
yes,
you stay right where you're at. All right. So hi there. And it's a wrap. Again, if you'd like more information about what we're doing here, it's ntmedia.org. And if you could, again, please feel free to partner with us. That, again, we're getting this message out to the whole world. The empowering message that you are the divine as you. And that by choosing to create in another way, your life will be heaven on earth, guaranteed. So on behalf of myself and also Reverend Jim Webb, this is Reverend Michael Mangus. I'm going to wish you a very pleasant good night, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.